Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to the Status Network, the live TV channel. This is the Conversation Corner with your host, the author, Andrew Snorton. As we do every second and fourth Wednesday about 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have great guests doing great things across entertainment, business, community, and more. So before we bring in our first guest, we're going to take care of a couple of quick station announcements, as well as ways for you to stay connected with me, the host. So first off, in order to enjoy tonight's show, make sure you go on the web, statusnetwork.net. In the big old pop-up box, click Conversation Corner, fill in the info. That way you're notified when we go live, and you can check out all the great shows we've done previously. On your smartphone, download the app Status Network, click on channels, click on live TV, and you're good to go. On your social media platforms of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, and others, make sure to go ahead and check us out there. And for those of you that have Roku as well as Amazon Fire Stick, go ahead and tune in to Status Network, and you should see us because we definitely want to see you. And a couple of quick station announcements before we bring on our first guest. If you or someone you know has an interest in finding a home for your show, your podcast, you name it, we do it here at the Status Network. We have quality people doing quality things, multiple channels, and even radio. So again, please make sure to connect with us today at the information provided. And speaking of the network, if you or someone you know is an aspiring filmmaker or an established filmmaker, whether it's short film, long film, documentary, since 2020, Status Films has been here to help independents grow. So make sure to connect with us at the information provided at the bottom of the screen so your film gets the exposure it needs. And to stay connected with me, drum roll please, yes, books, audiobooks, author Andrew Snorton, sounds right, speaker and host. Make sure to connect with me. You see the books, add to your library. You see the audiobooks, download those on any of your favorite platforms. And look, if you have a special request, constructive, of course, make sure to email me and check out the business site of asnortonccs.com to find out about all the things that I'm doing and stay connected. So now we've gotten those things out the way, we're ready to bring on our first guest. And I tell you what, yes, there we go. I tell you what, sometimes it is hours of entertainment. But one of my favorite cities, it's been 3 years and counting, so I know people in Chicago are like, what's up? But one of the great people I've been able to meet is not only just a promoter, but someone who really cares about the city of Chicago. So we're so pleased to have from Devo Entertainment, Mr. Devo Robinson. How are you doing, good sir?
Here in Chicago, man. How are you down in Atlanta?
Well, I tell you what, from what I hear, it's just a little bit warmer down here. You see me wearing a jacket and t-shirt. You already still, the hawk is still hanging around apparently.
Hey, Drew, yesterday it was 90 degrees, man. Today it's 42 and it's raining like Noah's Ark.
Now, was it 90 degrees because you had the heat turned on? I know what happens in Chicago between October and April. It will snow still. So we're just going to hope that you weather the weather and things along those lines. So before we get into Unity Day Chicago, which I know is a project near and dear to you, walk through with our viewers a little bit about your backstory. Obviously, Chicago native, but walk through with us some of your moving parts beyond just what you do with Devo Entertainment.
So to look at it from a Devo Entertainment standpoint, that was a fictitious character that I created around marketing. But who I am as an individual, I'm an entrepreneur. I own a casket business that I've had for now 20 years come July 27th. I'm an educator, director of students that's over the restorative practice program at Chicago High School here in Chicago. In addition to being a husband, a father, and an ordained and licensed and degreed minister here in Chicago that was under my grandfather, the late, great Reverend Dr. Clay Evans.
Wow. So again, what I'm hearing is being about the community is something that's always been in your lifeblood. Like you said before, through the lens of faith and spirituality, what you're doing in education, and shouts to all the educators. I mean, of course you, because I got you on, but all the educators, especially shouts to the folks in CPS, seriously. And you've always had your footprint in the community. So walk through with our viewers really the history behind Unity Day Chicago, because like they say, great ideas often start off small, but walk through a little bit of that history and the evolution of Unity Day Chicago.
Before it became Unity Day Shy, hashtag Unity Day Shy, it was just a gathering in my backyard in the Peel Hill area in Chicago with some great famous DJs from Farley Jackmaster Funk to Maurice Ice Cold Pepper and Gene Hunt, just in my backyard. And it had to be over 300 people just showed up at my house. And so then the next year we did it again. And so I call it the Alley Experience. And it was close to 600 people. And we said, okay, you know what? It's time to move this thing, move it to a park. And it was about bringing promoters and bar owners together and just say, hey, we're all one. We're all Big Mama's kids. So let's have a huge family reunion. And once it grew from there, I said, no, this is bigger than just us having an event and coming together. We have to start focusing on bringing awareness to various issues that's going on here in Chicago. And one of the main issues for me is that I always saw a dividing line between the South Side and the West Side of Chicago. Even though in my educational background working career, I started on the North Side in the Lincoln Park area, made it to Hyde Park, and then went to the Austin community on the West Side. But I always saw it was the difference between the West Side and the South Side. And here it is, I'm a South Sider and my wife is a West Sider. And I just wanted to bridge that gap between the two. And then once we start seeing about the violence that was going on consistently in Chicago, it always seems like it stemmed around Memorial Day weekend. Those were some of the biggest days that we had a high rise in gun violence and shootings here in Chicago. And so that's how we start changing it to focusing on that platform or that program of stopping the violence and bringing awareness to the city of Chicago and showing that the South Side and the West Side can come together in unity and bring out the awareness of that we need to put the guns down and we need to stop the violence. Now, last year, we had a car parade on the West Side because of COVID, and it was all about, masking up in the census, remote learning. But this year it's really focused on the census and talking about what we missed out on the census, but then also getting the vaccination shot. But the most important thing is about to stop the violence in the Chicagoland area.
And I'm glad you walked through the evolution. And so it really sounds like this went from a family affair to really being an affair about families and community, like you were saying before. And we've heard the term bridging the gap. But as you were walking through and giving people a little bit of, a point of reference about Chicago, like, look, people who live there know the deal. And you're walking through to give people, just a real life, for lack of a better term, education about some of those dynamics and things along those lines. Now, here you are, like you said before, part of it was Memorial Day weekend. It seemed like that was the spike weekend. And so you're really putting your footprint or putting your foot down at a real, at a real critical juncture. Walk through with us, not only for the viewers in Chicago, but everywhere. When Memorial Day Sunday comes this year, what are the plans and what are the hopes that you want to bring about to continue to build on the good work you're doing?
So before we even get to Sunday, this year, we actually going to bring back the family gathering. It's actually going to be that Saturday behind the Museum of Science and Industry with some very, very influential house music DJs here in Chicago, spearheaded by DJ Emmanuel. I know Sundance and Steve Maestro and various others that's going to be a part of that. So that's going to bring the families back together. And then we'll have corporate prayers because we've lost so many people in the house community to the COVID-19 pandemic. But then as we move over to Sunday, there's a car show, old school cars, motorcycles, parades, tube floats, DJs, and making sure we bring awareness from the South Side is because it's going to start on the South Side of Chicago, and they're going to have a motorcade police escort to the West Side of Chicago then we will line up there and we will canvass the whole Austin community and the surrounding other areas of the West Side, speaking about stopping the violence with a police escort. And that's key and vital to see the police involved in Unity Day, making sure that, hey, we're safe and protected, but then showing the people that do come out on their porches, because we do have loud sound systems to draw them out. And then just speaking of what the violence is and how we should be putting the guns down. So that's the real main platform. It's not about one individual, but it's about each and every family that is represented here in Chicago and their extended families, as they can see throughout the country. Is because violence is just not here in Chicago, but it's everywhere. I was just reading the other day that it was a mass shooting in New York. That's one of the great things about me. I'm a news fanatic, and I watch my Fire Stick, and my wife's like, you watch news all over the world. Yes, I do. I was watching news, Andrew, when you all had a blackout just this past weekend in Atlanta. So I'm connected to the news, and so I know it's other things that are going on positive, but you also see the violence that is going on, just not in Chicago, but throughout the United States. And we have to bring awareness to the communities, the saying is that, hey, let's put the guns down and let's come back to what communities used to be. And we have to band together to take our communities back. It's just like me just casting my net out in the sea and seeing how many fish I'm going to gain.
Wow. And I like that fisher analogy. It almost sounds like a little bit scripture wise, like being a fisher of men. And I'm glad that you talked about part of these moving parts are bringing in law enforcement, but walk through with our viewers some of the other moving parts, not only in previous years, but other segments of the community that you plan on, bringing together for this weekend, and continue to use that as a launch point for, we'll say community engagement and really community building. So walk through that with us.
So one of the platforms that has been placed upon me for some time now is about running for political office. So Unity Day Shy is just some letters and some words right now, but we do have the Unity Day Community Organization that we started 3 years ago to bring awareness as a non-for-profit organization, to bring awareness to various issues that's going on in Chicago and also positive things in Chicago. You just can't just focus on just one date of the year, but you have to be able to do something all year round. And that's with, having back to school events. That's with also teaching communities about restorative practices and restorative justices, and teaching them about peace circles and talking circles, so we can have better understanding of who we are and where we're supposed to be going. But in addition to, it's just not bridging the gap now just from the West Side and the South Side, but also reaching all communities and all nationalities that are right here represented here in Chicago.
And again, the key thing I keep hearing again is community building and community empowering. And like you said, you have to take that first step. Can you walk through with our viewers a few of the other entities, organizations that are helping come together to, again, make sure Unity Day is setting the tone that you're trying to set? And obviously the biggest thing is improved and enhanced community engagement, community awareness.
Well, the other major piece with that is that there's so many organizations, from the Divine Nine, from the Eastern Stars and the Masons, but then also when you start looking at corporations that have joined in with us also to get awareness out. But the most important thing to me is, and I'm gonna go back to it again, it is the Chicago Police Department and the mayor's office. Just 3 years ago, when we decided to go to the greater West Side of Chicago, that's when Mayor Lori Lightfoot had won the election. And she came out, that was her first event that she came to, was Unity Days, because she saw and heard that it was going to be about the community. And we can't speak on a lot of things that have gone on in Chicago with the mayor. I think she's doing the best that she can at what she has in front of her. But it takes for organizations like ourselves and others to join forces to ensure that our community is taken care of and are safe. And then that will be an extension and an olive branch to other communities.
Okay. And definitely, if you can, reiterate to viewers And of course, like we said, there are challenges everywhere, but especially to viewers in Chicago. Please reiterate what things you hope they will be willing to do, taking that step or taking additional steps in regards to the larger community building that you're trying to accomplish.
Say that last part again.
Okay, to repeat, I would say, especially for those in Chicago, what would you say to them, speaking specifically to them? And it's really speaking to all of us. What steps would you like for them to take to not only be a part of, what's going on Memorial Day, but just the bigger picture?
So the bigger picture is that we as a community have to come together, but the community starts within your house. And if you understand what's going on in your own household with your children, where they are at a particular time at night, that they're in the house, that's the first step. Then our next step is about our community building. You can start right on your block, and then it expands throughout several blocks, and then now it's the entire ward. Working with your political elected officials that, we voted in office, and so we're supposed to hold them accountable to what they said they were going to do. And then that will reach to city government, and then state government, and then federal government. It's all starts with you. It starts with you in your home, and then it expands on to other areas within the community that we all live within.
Wow. And I think that's a message that's not only for Chicago, that's for all of us. So that's not, like you said earlier, this is not just the Chicago hurdle to clear. It is all of us. We gotta stretch. Good thing I'm doing my walking in the morning so I don't pull a hamstring or anything along those lines. So before we get ready to wrap up and before we go to our commercial break, please remind all viewers, of course, especially the Clarion Call to those in Chicago, the best ways to find out about the event, to share the event, and just like we are all saying, take that first step.
Well, one of our main media platforms has always been Facebook. We do have the Devo Entertainment is the spearhead of it, but we also have the Unity Day Community Organization page, but also the Unity Day Promoters page. And we do have a huge following on all three of those platforms. In addition to, we also use Instagram and Twitter as another platform. But the wonderful thing is that it's just not our platform. We always use other individuals to push the events to ensure that the awareness is brought out there. And that goes back to what you have done over the past few years for us, Andrew, is because your press release has ensured that we do get media coverages, because we know the media is looking for something negative to always have in the news. But this is always a feel-good filler for news stations. And so that's the great thing, is that they're looking for something positive around that day and that platform. And so we thank you also for what you've done for the Unity Day Community Organization over the past few years.
Hey, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you. And you're going to continue to get support directly or indirectly. So remind people again, especially the hashtag that people can start looking up and trending and pushing. And again, reminder of the two main events for Saturday and Sunday.
Yep. So the hashtag is hashtag Unity Day Shy. So once again, it's hashtag Unity Day Shy. The one event is May 29th behind the Museum of Science and Industry. That's from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then the Stop the Violence, Stop the Gun Violence car parade, which is Sunday, May 30th on the Greater West Side of Chicago, which will be at Michelle Clark High School. And we will cover the Austin community and the entire west side of Chicago. So come on out if you all can, be part of the gathering on Saturday, or just be a part of the drive on Sunday to help us stop the violence and bring awareness to the city of Chicago.
Okay, and there you have it. So Devo, a pleasure having you on. Best wishes with all that you're working on. And what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to our first commercial break, and stick around as we'll bring our next guest on after our commercial break for the Conversation Corner. See the band, hear the band, book the band. Make sure to connect with the official music sponsor for the Conversation Corner, the Ear Candy Experience, as they provide sweet sounds and music to your ear. Get your merch from the author Andrew Snorton, ranging from bracelets and coffee and tea mugs, and there's more merch on the way, so make sure to connect with me at the information provided and place your order. Speaking of orders, you may get a copy of any of my 3 books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other bookstores, and download any of the audiobooks, including Volume 4, the collab with Chris 10, today. Many thanks to all the stores, book clubs, and more who are supporting, including these and others on the way. And special shouts to Cortez Mac TV for their recent interview on me, so make sure to check them all out. These are some of the events that we cover at Creative Community Solutions, here, there, and everywhere. Connect with us today for these and other needs, doing it good, but doing it greater. Virtual assistant services, cleaning services, and more. Just simply cut to the chase and connect with Ariel Chase and Associates today, as they'll help you to go ahead and make good things happen. Mark your calendars for the upcoming business pageant taking place June 11th through 13th in Orlando, Florida at the Renaissance Hotel. Check it out, support these awesome professionals, and more. Join the Alphas of Atlanta Friday at the 19th hole for their networking social affair. This will be April 30th for the 21 and older audience. Music, drinks, and links. Check it out. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our second segment on the Conversation Corner, and we're traveling all around the world today. We're going from Chi-Town to Houston, Texas, and I'm so pleased to have Bishop Richard Harper on. He was so kind in having me on his show back in March. He does an outstanding radio show, but he's more than just someone in radio. So, Bishop Harper, how are you doing this fine evening?
I'm wonderful, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me on this evening.
Hey, likewise. Now, we hear Bishop and we automatically think the pulpit. But your pulpit isn't just what happens on Sundays. Walk through with our viewers just a few of your moving parts where, through the lens of stewardship, outreach, and service, you'll find you other than just Sunday service.
Absolutely. I think I have my hands in many places. My wife and I, we do lead a congregation in Houston, Texas, which is called Prevailing Life in the West Houston area. I'm also the vice president of the Houston HBCU Alumni Association, where I work with the collaboration of HBCU alumnus from around the city to advance our HBCUs. Our ministry is international. Rich Living Global is international. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I probably would not be in the country at this time. We travel to Africa quite a bit throughout the year, speaking at various churches and business organizations. I do travel to teach wealth principles or wealth and mindset principles as well. I'm also the host of the Rich Living Morning Show, which began in January on Raise the Praise 100 Houston. And it's a show which is a combination of gospel music and inspiring conversation. And we were so blessed and honored to have you on as one of our guests.
Wow. Well, thank you for the shout. But even bigger, obviously more important than that, you're showing that through different lenses, not only just through what happens in the sanctuary or in the pulpit, but being community engaged. Like you spoke earlier, your involvement with our historically black college and university community, that is monumental and that is huge. In regards to wealth building and financial literacy, that is big. So you're showing stewardship really has no boundaries. It really doesn't. And thank you for being an example of that.
Thank you.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for saying that. I teach the kingdom, and I believe in the kingdom. Our church network that we are part of is only about the kingdom. And the kingdom of God is beyond the four walls of the church. So yes, we have a pulpit ministry, and we do have a local church ministry. but we take quite a bit of time to prepare people in our church to do work outside of the church. Most of our work is called in the marketplace, and I wholeheartedly believe in marketplace ministry, Andrew. And so it's very important for me not to be locked in the local church, but to go out and take the message of the kingdom, which is quite broad in various sectors of the city.
Amazing, amazing. Let me ask you this question, because we always hear the term calling, or you're called to do something. Like when the street light came on, my mom and grandmom called me, or something. Probably, I won't speak of all the outcomes, but there would be a couple of outcomes there. But walk through with our viewers, because to me, ministry, it really is a calling. And there might not have been one pivotal moment, but could you point to when you felt like this is the direction not only you need to go in, but you're called to go in?
My calling and my experience began as a sophomore at Paul Quinn College in Dallas, Texas, an HBCU. And I was led. We had moved into the Church of God in Christ. Of course, all of my life it had been said that there was a call to ministry and that I would preach. My idea was to move into Congress and become a senator. Along the way, as a sophomore, I had an encounter with God, and it opened up new possibilities and a new realm for me. And at 19, I became an evangelist. So while a student at Paul Quinn, when other students were on vacations during the summer and spring break and enjoying those vacations, I was actually traveling and preaching. Many a times I would leave from class and my mother would take me to revivals, or some of the older people in the church would travel with me. And that began the ministry. Over time, it developed, and the call became clearer to me. After certain experiences and challenges in life, it became more clear to me about what my assignment is. And knowing your assignment and your calling, it doesn't necessarily fit in the box that others may have designed for you. And that's what happened for me. You will find me everywhere. You may see me in the church. You may see me at a secular event. You may see me at a secular music event in the city. But that's kingdom work for me. I'm not there just to watch or to participate, but usually I'm there representing one of the organizations or ministries that I'm so privileged to be a part of. So when we're talking about our callings to me come from your life experiences. And you begin to know what you're passionate about. And there are things that I'm passionate about. I'm very passionate about people being empowered. It means so much for me for people to wake up and feel fulfilled, that they wake up and they know that they're walking in purpose, that they're walking in their destiny. For people who have been ordinary people to do extraordinary things, that means the world to me. And so I believe God has gifted me through the scriptures, through the use of the scriptures and the revelation that God has given to me to help people unlock that side of their life and to walk in their full God-given potential. So I believe we all have a call. And the idea that the call is always for the church, that isn't the truth. We're called into many areas. We're called into many different areas of influence. And one's call could be carried out through medicine, through business, through finance, through education, grassroots efforts, social justice movements. You can be called into many areas, and God will use you there. There's a small margin of the church that is actually called to a pulpit ministry. But the majority of the church, or people in general outside of the church, the call is within the marketplace. And Jesus began his ministry with 12 dynamic individuals that came from the marketplace. None of them were priests. None of them were preachers. They were all men that came from different walks of life and they work in various areas. And that is where the call of Jesus worked with. He worked with individuals from the marketplace. So we're talking about our calling. No, your calling may not be in the church, but I believe your life experiences will further reveal the calling to you.
And I'm glad you broke it down like that, because again, there are a number of times we hear calling, and like I said earlier, when people hear calling, they just look at it through one lens. But you showed where almost anywhere you go, that's the potential for you to realize your calling and your passion and your purpose and what your assignment is at that time, and how that is building upon the next set of assignments. So, and I've said this before, where you are now is not where you're always going to be. Speaking on that and looking at the moving parts that you have, walk through with our viewers some upcoming events, programs, things along those lines where people can, connect and engage and, for lack of a better term, awaken what is deep buried inside them. So please share that with us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you can hear me, of course, Monday through Friday on the Rich Living Morning Show, online at raisethepraise100.com. Also, every Sunday, I'm on Facebook Live and YouTube with the Prevailing Life Online, which is the virtual worship service for our church. And then you can find us on our YouTube channel. You can also connect with the Houston HBCU Alumni Association, as we have mentoring programs, we have college fairs, we have various events that are causing people to engage in HBCUs and bringing more awareness to the HBCUs. I do have other programs that are coming up. We have webinars that we do from time to time. Soon I'll be launching a mentoring program that is entitled Supernatural Entrepreneurs. Supernatural Entrepreneurs. And in that mentoring program, we will be talking about tapping into the power of mind to do supernatural things in your business, and how you can be led of the Spirit, and the Spirit can manifest many wonderful things and opportunities through you. So you can always connect with us on social media and know when we have those programs coming up. You can also purchase my book, Consciously Wealthy, Developing a Rich Mind to Make Power Moves. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on barnesandnoble.com. Any one of the booksellers, you can find our book there. And that book opened the door for me to go across the globe to teach individuals about the richness of their minds. Our slogan is, if you think rich, you will feel rich, and then you will live rich. And rich living is beyond having money, but rich living is walking and living in your purpose.
And I'm so glad that you broke that down, because people hear the word rich and that's almost the first thing they think of. But like you said, is really your state of mind, your state of being, your understanding. And I'm sure you've used this phrase, who you are and whose you are.
Absolutely. Amen.
So I'm sitting here, I guess that divinity school training that I have, hint, hint, is paying off. But
there's an anointing.
I use aloe vera today. I'm just kidding.
That's funny.
Let me ask you this, and it's great. And here's another thing that people have to understand about the faith community. You're still a person. Even what we're doing right now, it's encouragement. We're enjoying a little bit of good humor, perspective, and that's another thing. And I want you to speak. I'd like for you to speak upon this about, perspective. We know that there are people, and we heard it from the first interview. There are people out there that are a little bit clouded. They're hurting, dismayed, things along those lines. If there's a message or word of encouragement that you could convey to anybody who's out there, like, yeah, right, whatever. What message or what message would you like to give to those viewers that might be out there?
I would say to those viewers, don't stop believing. And here's the thing about belief and faith. Belief and faith work together, but they are not necessarily the same. Belief is an intellectual choice. It's a choice that we make within our conscious mind. And faith gives it the power to become. So I encourage everyone not to stop believing. It's what you decide to be, what you or who you decide to become, or what you make a decision to do, it will happen. But as you believe something, you must create an environment or a support system for those things which you believe. And don't stop. There are a lot of things taking place. All of us have lost someone very dear to and close to us from COVID-19. We've many things financially. There are a lot of things that have happened in the world. And I have friends that are on the other side of the world that do have the support that we have here in America, from the government and even from the church, that are suffering. And I take that same message of belief to them, is don't stop believing. As long as you don't stop believing, there's still a possibility. There are still opportunities for you. You cannot look at the things which you see. The things which you see are temporary, but the things that are unseen are eternal. And so use the power of your vision, use the power of your sight, and don't allow anyone to define you. Whomever defines you, they control your outcome in life. So never allow anyone to define you or anyone to put you in a box. And I want to encourage all of the viewers to keep believing. Everything has an expiration date. Many people say that things are going to get worse, but I do believe that things will get better for us, as God is definitely in control. As long as we believe, all things are possible.
Well, I tell you what, I'm so glad that you spoke to that. And I know we do speak to those things with our different guests, but every once in a while there's somebody out there that needs to hear something to help them pivot and stay encouraged. And like we've heard before, it's okay to pause and catch a break, because you know the body needs its rest, but eventually we got to keep going. So before we wind this segment down, remind our viewers the best ways where they can stay connected and engaged, but even bigger, support you, because even people who encourage need some encouragement.
Absolutely. You can find me online at myprevailinglife.com. That is our church website, myprevailinglife.com. Or you can find me on social media, Living Morning Show on Facebook, Instagram, Rich Living Coach, or Google me, Bishop Richard Harper, the Rich Living Coach. You'll find me there. Now, Google Richard Harper. I tell everyone that there's an older white gentleman who is a minister as well. He is there, but I'm the other guy, the good-looking brown guy. And so you can connect me there. Just Google me, you'll find me.
Well, I tell you what, Bishop Harper, I appreciate you taking time out from your moving parts to be a guest on our show. I appreciate your message. I appreciate your sincerity and your good humor, because, again, we got to remind people, hey, people in the clergy, they're people too. So, again, best wishes and continued blessings with all you're working on. What we're going to do right now is go to our next commercial break, and we come back, we'll bring on our next guest on the Conversation Corner. Join me, the author, Andrew Snorton, each Wednesday at 1:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for my weekly live chat, The Fast 15. You can join me on Facebook as well as Instagram to pause, check in, regroup, and move forward. So starting in May for Cinco de Mayo. Better listen to your corner and get your merch today. That's right. Connect with Watch for the Hook for your shirts, hoodies, and more. add them on social media, hit them up on their website, and again, you better listen to your corner. The Georgia Spartans, the United Men's Basketball League Hoops Association, semi-pro basketball here in Atlanta. You definitely want to check them out on Saturdays as they're doing great on the court and in the community. Make sure to connect with kikihummingbird.wixsite.com as well as their social media for your artwork needs and more. Now, you can't get those custom skates because those belong to Shaquille O'Neal, but hit them up to see what creative work they can do with you. Real Women Atlanta magazine. It puts the spotlight on black women, ordinary women doing extraordinary things, but we know black women are far from ordinary. Make sure to check them out at their website and their social media to find out about the great women here in Atlanta. Photography, video, short film, documentaries, commercials. Do you get the picture? If so, make sure to connect with Chris 10 Media at the information provided and see what great projects they can do with you. They have men's hats and fedoras. They have women's hats and fedoras. So make sure to check out the great work of 1820 Hats at the information provided, and remember to live free today. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our third guest for tonight's show, and I tell you what, if you are based here in Atlanta, so we take you from Chicago to Houston to Atlanta, and if you have not heard of DNA Sports Talk, you need to get your life together. Seriously. These are two outstanding characters with character when it comes to sports, so let us welcome the team from DNA Sports. Fellas, how you doing tonight?
What's going on? How are you?
Yeah.
Doing great. Let's make sure that the people know who you are and where you're based out of. So we'll start with this wonderful gentleman right here, looking like super genius with the sports shades and sports glasses going on.
My name is Asa Brown. I'm the A in DNA Sports Talk.
Okay, and you've got your tag team partner. Introduce yourself to the wonderful people.
This is Don Stinson. I'm the D in DNA.
Great. So before, gentlemen, we start talking a little bit of sports, walk through how DNA Sports really came about.
You want me to take this one, Don?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll fill in the gaps.
No problem. So, short story, long. We've always been sports fanatics, sitting around watching ESPN, well, mainly was ESPN at the time, but even before that, in our childhood days and whatnot, worldwide sports and whatnot. But as we kind of became young adults and growing and whatnot, watching ESPN, we would be over at either one of our places watching the game. We would say something, and like 2 minutes later, the announcer would say the exact same thing, or whatever we were talking about would kind of pop up on the screen. And so for a while, the running joke was, either at my place or his place, we were, Will Smith. Someone had the cameras on us, had microphones. So it was a running joke. You walk in the house, make sure you got pat down, make sure you didn't have any communications on you. And, it was just a good time. So kind of fast forward on that, we have another friend here in the Atlanta area who was doing internet radio. And so just on the humbug, there's a big, here in Atlanta, there's a big One Music Fest is a big thing. And so he was, I seen him at the One Music Fest. I seen him with his media paraphernalia and was trying to figure out, hadn't seen him in a while, trying to figure out how in the world he got behind, to the backstage. And then just in talking, he was like, there was a internet platform that he was a part of, and they were looking for additional programming, additional content. And so
They didn't have any sports at the time. It was just all music. That
Correct.
was the key thing that was there.
So I said, oh, I said, we can fill some content in. Now at the time, didn't have no idea how we was going to fill that content.
He
So I
saw
came
he
back.
saw what, Saturday? That Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday or Sunday show.
Saturday and Sunday show. And then the following week, we got together that Saturday watching football, and we literally put DNA together from the name to the logo to how we were going to do the show. We put it all together in 24 hours.
Wow. So sometimes, hey, timing is everything. And because, like you said, and you've heard this from the other guests, because of your passion, this is another step on your purpose. So you go from, I'm not going to say, you just happen to be there. It's like, all right, let's put this together, working under the gun, to really being, honestly, one of the more highly regarded sports entities out here. Walk through with our viewers the growth. So you put everything together in 24 hours. Since you put those things together in 24 hours, walk through with our viewers some of the coverage you've been able to do. And in addition to that, what's one, I'll say, interview or conversation that you had that was totally unexpected, like it went, quote, better than what you expected?
So before you answer that question, Don, I'm going to give you most of that. Putting ourselves under the gun, we had to learn everything. So, everything as far as what goes on behind the scenes, how to work a board, how to understand radio drops. Now that we're into TV, how to understand the commercial breaks, how to conduct an interview, some of the questions you don't want to ask, so, things of that nature. And how to content, how to make sure the content is embracing to everybody across the market. So not just urban, but also country or Caucasian, children, middle age, just the market in totality on how to embrace those individuals. But so we put ourselves under the gun, but then we had to then turn around and learn those things. And we just didn't do it by ourselves. People that's been listening to us from day one have given us input. And I promise you, we've taken each one of those, that input and have applied it to the show.
Yeah, because literally we did all of that in 24 hours. Like, we made it a point to start off to where our platform can move anywhere. There wasn't, we weren't under FCC guidelines, but we knew at some point we would get to that point, which we have. And we literally started at my kitchen table doing an internet radio show. And it moved to 2 a.m. stations. We're down to 1 a.m. station. And we'll see what the future holds, maybe XM. But we, like Ace was saying, we wanted to make sure that platform was easily transferable to any and every one.
Wow. And again, and we've heard the adage, and we've heard it here tonight, sometimes big ideas start small. And like you said, from 24 hours to the kitchen table to radio and covering events. Walk through with our viewers some of the events you've been able to cover.
Everything pretty much locally, from Hawks, Braves, Falcons, to national things, Final Fours, SEC championship games, different golf events, HBCU tournaments, right, and even the Olympics in Rio.
Wow. So wait, I'm gonna pump my brakes right there. The Olympics when they were in Rio. So for folks that have not been outside the country, give them a little bit of a slice of that experience. No, because you think about it, what, based on statistics, only 1 out of 10 residents of the U.S. will ever leave the country. And you got a chance to go down to Rio. What was that experience like? Number one, covering an event of that stature, but then also people don't understand you're able to take advantage of the culture and things along those lines.
It's amazing because you get to see, as you mentioned, other cultures. So living here in Atlanta, you realize that there is other cultures and there is life outside of 285. And you get to embrace the different cultures, the food, how much they love football, not American football, but football, which is soccer, and the passion that they have for the sport. And the one thing about the Olympics that was so amazing was literally in about 200 feet, you can hear up to 8 different languages being spoken because it's such an international event.
That is amazing. And again, people don't realize in I'll say the business that we're in, you know, it is a privilege, but there are also things that you're able to see and experience and take advantage of, and you get to see it through a totally different lens than others do. In regards to covering sports, okay, we know we all have that moment where, I don't know, I don't want to say awkward, but was there a moment that kind of like, okay, we got to pause and reboot like real quickly because it's not going the direction we hoped? Have you ever had that type of experience?
I don't think so.
Every other Monday.
If you listen to what he got to say.
Not in a bad way. Sometimes you just never know how we have guests on, which way they may want to pivot. It's got to pivot with them.
Or you have to draw them out. We have had a couple of guests that were, and those were usually the high school students who've been on, or the ones that when we did speaking of the draft coming up, it was a couple of years ago when we had 2018 when we had the guys from Texas A&M and
Oklahoma,
Oklahoma, and they were, they're kind of nervous, and you kind of got to draw them out with questions so they can be comfortable.
Okay. And speaking of the NFL draft, rumor has it that I think the first round is tomorrow. So 2 questions regarding the NFL draft. Based on your research, who do you think will be one of those surprise picks like, darn, we should not have slept on this person? And then, of course, being local, who do you think the Falcons need to pick? Not just in this first round, but what do you think they really need to do in this draft in order to get the team on a much more competitive level?
I'll take the first question. I think Kellen Mond, the quarterback from Texas A&M, I think he will be a surprise pick, maybe second round. And I'll let Asa go with who the Falcons gonna take.
So,
since he the Falcons hater.
Oh wow. Well, I like the home team. This is not my first love, but I think the Falcons going to wind up. They're going to try to maximize Matt Ryan's last 2 years on this contract. So I think they're going to wind up going with the tight end out of Florida. That's Pitts, right? So right. I think and then rumor is that down, this season or at some point they're going to look to move Julio. And if that's the case, then you still would need to, have someone to replace him immediately. And so Pitts seems to be that guy across the board. Now, I also would say at the same time, what they should do is draft the next quarterback available. Well, I mean, and they still may do that, but I feel they're going to go with Pitts. But I also feel that at the same time, the thing that they should do is also going to be you asked the question about slept on or whatever. I believe going with the quarterback long-term, until you were saying, Don, would be better. But the Falcons have always thought about now, never about down the road. If you go back and look at all their recent picks in the last, 10 seasons, 10 years, majority have been a now pick, not a set up down the road pick. So I think Pitts is going to be another now pick, and then 5 seasons from now, when one of these quarterbacks is looking like a Hall of Famer, and we're going to be, why didn't we go with that guy? I.e., why Chicago didn't go with.
Hey. We ain't talking about the Washington no names.
Hey, so but the Falcons are going to do what the Falcons do, and I think they're going to make a now pick and not a future pick. So.
Right. And we do know the draft is an inexact science, but you made a good point. Like, some teams really are drafting for development and longevity. and others are like what's hot in these streets right now, basically. So who knows? I have a couple, but I'm kind of biased on one of the sleeper picks. I'll just go ahead and say it. Look out for Boogie Basham from Wake Forest University. Outstanding defensive lineman.
So I was just about to say all the picks that are going to wind up, I think, 5 seasons, 7 seasons from now, we be like, this draft has the ability to be one of those drafts where you look back and be like, man, we had
5 Hall of Famers out.
5 Hall of Famers coming. I believe majority that will come out of this draft being that type of caliber of players will be on the defensive side. I only think there's 2 or 3 offensive guys that will really stand out. I believe most of the guys on the defensive side in this draft are high quality guys. So,
which is what the Falcons should do with the rest of their picks, should be all defense, especially a pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Like I said, I just put Boogie Basham out there. I'll admit I did cover. I mean, that's my alma mater. I covered them in 2019 in person. He had a stretch of like 20 plus games of like tackles for loss, and that will be. I'm hoping he'll get drafted tomorrow, but I'll go ahead and say he goes in the first two rounds, easy. So that's just me. Okay, so just a couple quick things before we go to our last break. You guys have all these great moving parts and things of that nature. What's one message you'd like to deliver, especially if people are looking into going into sports journalism? What's one thing that you'd like to just put out there for seed planning?
Be consistent with whatever you're going to do, whether it's in the sports realm or anything, because consistency is what's going to keep you around and keep you going.
I'm going to say be true to yourself in whatever that is that you want to do within sports, or again, even within life in general. So the consistency, if you have the passion for it, and then, be willing to take in all criticism, good criticism, bad criticism. They all have a way of shaping what you need to do.
I'll tell you what, those are great words of wisdom and insight. Before we go to our last break, remind our viewers the best ways where they can stay connected and engaged with DNA Sports.
Well, you can follow DNA Sports Talk on
Twitter,
DNA Sports Talk on
Twitch,
DNA Sports Talk on
Facebook,
DNA Sports Talk on
Instagram,
DNA Sports Talk on
Snapchat.
Reach us directly.
DNA Sports Talk at Gmail.
And the website.
www.dnasportstalk.com.
And on Monday nights.
On WWE 1100 AM.
Gentlemen, I tell you what, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be on the show. Continued well wishes in all things, and looking forward to seeing you guys soon. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to our last commercial break and then just a couple of quick closing notes on the Conversation Corner.
So I always go back to that, and I always feel that Lisa is kind of guiding me. Lisa is putting people in front of me that need. So
you have the darkness here. Every hat tells a story, because everything is like I told you before. Everything is faith-based. These hats have different colors. I would love for you. Oh, there it is on the screen.
No.
Bam.
We have been present. Alpha Phi Alpha, like I said, was founded in 1906, and we've been present in front of the scenes and behind the scenes at every important pivotal moment in American history since 1906.
Entertainment, business, community, and more. Join us every second and fourth Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Status Network, the live TV channel, for the Conversation Corner hosted by the author Andrew Snorton. And let's have a conversation. Shown on the Status Network, live TV, and let's have a conversation. We'll see you. And, ladies and gentlemen, before we call it a night, a couple of quick reminders. Again, thank you to all of our guests for being on tonight. Thank you for the awesome production team that helps make the magic happen every second and fourth Wednesday. A couple of quick programming notes. The next time that we will air will be May the 12th, 7 p.m. So make sure to stay posted on that. Real quick, shouts to Shaka Rawls and the awesome students, faculty, staff at Leo Catholic up in Chicago. They did an awesome drive to help those people in need due to a fire in the neighborhood. So shouts to all the students at Leo. And I guess, ladies and gentlemen, we are just about done. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until May 12th, you guys take care. Be safe out there. See ya.